Diddy party stories, they're our favorite genre of anecdote, if you
really?
have one, yeah.
Wow, okay, I've got a lot I can't tell.
One time, me, him, Ashton Kutcher went to a Nets game, and we met Jay-Z there. You know what I'm saying? So they were close, they was cool.
But you heard about the reports that Ashton Kutcher, he's worried that Diddy might lie on his friends? You heard about that?
But that's what I've been saying. I said, if the federal government wanted somebody more than they want Diddy.
Mila Kunis is running as far away from Ashton Kutcher as possible. It looks like the feds are back at it, and this time, Ashton Kutcher's name is being dragged into the chaos. Rumor has it that Ashton might have been arrested as part of the whole Diddy investigation mess.
He's able to get that information to them, but they gotta want it. They gotta want it. And Ashton Kutcher and him they were real tight.
And suddenly, it kind of explains why Ashton's been ghosting the media. No red carpet appearances, no interviews, not even one random paparazzi snap. People are seriously starting to wonder if he's already been taken into custody. But hold up, that's just the start. Because now, folks are digging into Ashton's past. And let's just say, it's messier than you remember.
We are aware of the pain that has been caused by the character letters that we wrote on behalf of Danny Masterson.
We support victims. We have done this historically through our work and will continue to do so in the future.
Back in high school, Ashton broke into his school, not for a prank, but to steal money and cheat on a test. Yeah, and he got caught. Full-on felony, third-degree burglary. That little stunt cost him big. Scholarships gone, record ruined, and even lost his right to vote. But once he got famous, he magically cleaned up his record, had the felony erased, and got his voting rights back. Must be nice when he finally got the money. Now let's talk about Mila Kunis for a second. Word on the street? She might be completely over it. Insiders are whispering that she's pulling the plug on their marriage. Apparently, she's had enough of cleaning up Ashton's messes. And this whole scandal? It might have been the last thing she was willing to take. And these are not just some wild guesses. This can actually be real. As Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis were spotted out and about with their kids, but on separate trips. Ashton took their son Dimitri to flag football practice, while Mila, 41, brought their daughter Wyatt to a dance class. Now the big questions people are asking, is Ashton quietly tangled up in Diddy's drama behind the scenes? And what exactly does Mila know that made her peace out?
So Ashton Kutcher, he has a right to be kind of alarmed if he was doing things with Diddy.
Time to unpack it all, because let's be real, most folks don't know that Ashton's past was never as squeaky clean as Hollywood wanted us to believe. Fast forward to Hollywood. Ashton's partying with Diddy at those infamous white parties, the ones that are now raising a lot of eyebrows. Recently, a clip resurfaced from Ashton, who was seen laughing while talking about Sean Diddy Combs' notorious parties during a Hot Ones interview. In the video, Kutcher stated, "I've got a lot I can't tell," and later added, "Diddy party stories? Weird, man," as he said in the Hot Ones interview.
Diddy party stories, they're our favorite genre of anecdote, if you have one, yeah.
Wow, okay, I've got a lot I can't tell.
Kutcher opened up about how he first connected with Diddy. He explained that their friendship kicked off after the rapper caught wind of Kutcher's MTV show and took an interest. "Our relationship is really bizarre," Kutcher explained. "It started over punked because he was like, 'Yo, you can't punk me.' I was like, 'I don't know what to tell you. Everybody's on the table.' That started our conversation. We became fast friends, and we used to hang out, watch football together." Kutcher then recalled a time when Diddy came over to break a sweat and go for a run. Halfway through the run, he goes, "Yo, I'm running out of gas right now," Kutcher recalled. "But we had paparazzi all around us at the time." He's like, "You gotta slow down, but you gotta make it look like you're not slowing down, because I don't want to look like I'm not going to be able to finish this thing." He was losing it. After finishing the run, Kutcher said Diddy was so upset over the fact that he got skunked on this run. As a result, the music mogul decided to start training for the New York Marathon. "He can't just lose," Kutcher said. "Even when he's that close to humility, it becomes a driver," and then he ran in the New York Marathon. It seems like Kutcher really knew Diddy well when he said, "He just can't lose," because Diddy will go to any extent to save himself, even if it means throwing everyone else close to him under the bus to stay out of jail.
Wings and the heat's starting to kick up, and he's like, and we finish out the run, and then he was so upset over the fact that he got skunked on this run.
And honestly, Ashton saying that just made things even weirder. especially considering how close he was to Diddy during the peak of those wild parties. The fact that many of the cases being investigated now date back to that exact time. Yeah, it raises a lot of questions, doesn't it?
Well, he just can't lose. Even when he's that close to humility, that
Let's not forget the old whispers about Ashton allegedly dating Lindsay Lohan when she was just 16. People are starting to piece things together, and it's not looking good. Ashton also had a connection to someone else whose death still feels off, Brittany Murphy. The actress passed away at just 32, and the official story? Pneumonia and anemia. Tragic, right? But then, her husband Simon Monjack died not long after. And get this, from the exact same causes. What are the odds? It didn't take long for people to start raising eyebrows. 2 sudden deaths, months apart, same vague explanation. It just doesn't sit right, especially now that we're looking back and realizing Ashton was closely tied to that whole scene, and that includes his wild party days with Diddy. Yeah, those parties are the famous white parties, packed with celebrities, industry giants, and just enough secrecy to raise some serious questions. But Brittany's story isn't the only one giving people chills. There's also Kim Porter, Diddy's ex, and the mother of 3 of his kids. She passed away in 2018, and the reason listed on the report? Pneumonia again. 3 people, all young, all connected to the same circle, all gone too soon, and all with the same vague copy-paste cause of death. This wasn't just some celebrity friend group. These guys were traveling the world together, hosting secret events, and according to some sources, getting involved in things the public was never meant to find out about. So now the internet is doing what it does best, digging deeper, connecting dots, and wondering if there's more going on behind the scenes than anyone ever admitted. Could Ashton have known something? Was he just caught up in it? Or was he in way deeper than we thought? And here's where things start to feel like a twisted Hollywood thriller.
They know somebody is doing something illegal. They know somebody doing something wrong. Stop them in their tracks.
Ashton's name keeps popping up, not just in Britney's orbit, but in a much larger, much darker web. Fans started to realize that he wasn't just some casual acquaintance at a few events. And here's where Ashton fits into the bigger picture. He's been right there in the middle of it all. Not loud, not flashy, but present. Insiders say Diddy didn't just party with him, he confided in him, trusted him. And when you look at who Ashton was hanging around with, names like Danny Masterson and Wilmer Valderrama, it paints a very different picture than the clean-cut guy we've seen on camera. Turns out Ashton wasn't just rubbing elbows with Diddy at parties, he was actually the one who reportedly introduced him to WeWork's former CEO, Adam Neumann, the same guy who turned a promising company into a financial disaster and left investors high and dry. And somehow Diddy ended up with a piece of that pie too. Convenient, right? But this isn't just about money or flashy connections. When you combine silence, power, and huge sums of money, you're not just building friendships, you're creating these untouchable bubbles, little fortresses, where secrets are sealed and nothing gets out. Don't believe it? Try Googling the so-called New Hollywood Rat Pack with any of their names. Good luck finding anything solid. It's like their digital footprints were wiped clean. And all of this just so happens to ramp up right after Diddy's arrest? Yeah, Suspicious doesn't even begin to cover it.
Remember they used to have that group called the Brat Pack? With Diddy, him, and a couple other guys was hanging out.
And speaking of weird timing, Ashton and Mila suddenly started acting like they barely knew Diddy, like he was just some random acquaintance from back in the day. But anyone who's been paying attention knows that's not the case. Same thing they did with Danny Masterson once things went south for him. All those friendly photos, old birthday wishes, vacations, vanished like it never happened. People were stunned when it came out that Ashton and Mila wrote letters of support for Danny after he was convicted, especially since they've been presenting themselves as allies for victims. It felt less like loyalty and more like damage control.
They all might be worried.
One of the women known publicly as Jane Doe No. 1 sent a text to journalist Yashar Ali from the Huffington Post after Kutcher posted the apology video on Instagram. In their letters to the judge, both Kutcher and Kunis pleaded for a lighter sentence for Masterson, calling him a loyal friend, devoted husband, loving father, and someone who's strongly against D's. But by doing that, they ended up discrediting the victims' stories, and even their own claim that they stand with survivors. The plot thickens because their ties to Scientology. They run deep. Their social circle, their closest friends, even some of their staff are reportedly part of that network. And if you know anything about Scientology, then you know how powerful they can be when it comes to keeping things under wraps. Stories disappear, reporters back off, and reputations stay squeaky clean on the surface at least. Now here's the kicker. Someone once asked Ashton about Diddy's wild parties, and his response? There's a lot I can't say. Just like that, boom, the internet exploded. People started whispering about what he might have witnessed.
Diddy party stories, they're our favorite genre of anecdote if you have one, yeah.
Wow, okay, I've got a lot I can't tell.
And let's just say the guesses ranged from disturbing to downright horrifying. Things that sound eerily close to what Diddy's being investigated for now. And what about Thorn? You know, Ashton's nonprofit that was all about fighting child T online? Sounds noble, right? But behind the curtain, there's some murky stuff going on. Redacted files, weird connections, and even Freedom of Information Act requests trying to pull back the curtain. It seemed really strange to people online, being part of an organization that supports victims of predators and then publicly backing someone like Danny Masterson just because he's your friend. It definitely raises a lot of questions. Then suddenly, without warning, Ashton steps down from the board. No big press conference, just a quiet goodbye letter. And according to some insiders, it wasn't just a random decision. Word is, the heat was coming, and he wanted out before things blew up. And it doesn't stop there. Remember Diddy Chase, the little girl from The Ring? Her career kind of vanished overnight. But behind the scenes, there's talk that things went downhill after she ended up at one of those infamous parties hosted by Ashton and Diddy. She was young, way too young to be thrown into that kind of world. But after that one night, everything in her life started falling apart. Arrests, D charges, jail time. In 2019, she was picked up for a misdemeanor, and just months before that, it was possession. Fast forward to 2024, right back behind bars after another incident in Hollywood. This wasn't just a typical child star gone off the rails story. People aren't chalking it up to bad luck or Hollywood pressure anymore. They believe something really dark happened that night. The kind of trauma that doesn't just fade with time. It breaks you, and it stays with you. Now here's where it gets even more disturbing. Diddy Chase isn't the only one tied to this shadowy narrative, because rumors have been swirling for years about Ashton Kutcher and his thing for girls who were, let's just say, way too young. There's talk that he and Lindsay Lohan were a thing when she was just 16, and when that fizzled, she ended up dating Wilmer Valderrama.
But what we know is that wherever Diddy went, his tape recorders went. His camera equipment was working. He was videotaping everything.
Honestly, it's hard not to see the pattern. These guys were moving in the same circle. And that circle, it's looking more and more twisted by the day. Ashton, Wilmer, Danny Masterson are all linked, all surrounded by whispers. Let's pause on Wilmer for a second because his history is just yikes. He was 20 when he started seeing Mandy Moore, who was just 15 at the time. Both of them kept it quiet back then. But Mandy later confirmed they were actually together while she was still underage. She even called him her first real boyfriend. And then there's the disgusting part years later. Wilmer went on Howard Stern's show and literally bragged about being her first. He laughed, he joked. He turned something deeply personal and painful into entertainment. Mandy eventually responded and said it wasn't even true, but the damage was done.
If they had information that he was underage boys and all this stuff like this, why they ain't go do something? Why did they let all these other people be victims? What you said, 120 showed up?
And it didn't stop there. Next came Lindsay Lohan, the golden girl of the early 2000s. At 17, she was everywhere. Paparazzi couldn't get enough of her. Wilmer, who was 24 at the time, claimed they were just friends. But the moment she turned 18, boom, they were magically a couple. Like he'd just been waiting. Jump to 2010. Wilmer starts spending time with a young Demi Lovato. They kept saying, we're just friends, like siblings. But then, boom, on Demi's 18th birthday, they suddenly went public as a couple. Wilmer was 29 at the time, more than 10 years older than her. Just like before, Demi later admitted their relationship began before she was of age. It's the same pattern over and over. Mandy, Lindsay, Demi. The timeline always feels off, and the classic midnight birthday excuse shows up every time. Demi first met Wilmer when she was still 17. She said, I met him on January 11, 2010, during a PSA shoot for the census at his place. I told him to back off because I wasn't legal yet, but after I turned 18, we started dating. Honestly, it felt like love at first sight. Then in 2022, Demi finally spoke up the best way she knew how to, by releasing a song called 29. The lyrics, they hit hard. She never named names, but everyone understood who she was referring to. She even said in interviews, "The song says everything." And yeah, it really does. Here's the thing about the internet. It's full of clues. While scrolling through old forum posts and comments, one particular message stood out like a big red warning. Someone said Wilmer Valderrama owned a bar where they worked, and it was a total mess. Younger girls showed up frequently, and the staff were told never to check IDs at Wilmer's tables. Megan Good was also involved as an investor, and according to this employee, she was just as bad. So basically, Wilmer owned a bar where underage girls regularly came in, and management made sure no one was checked. That means everyone was in on it. This wasn't some accidental Hollywood party. This was planned and allowed to happen. What about Megan Good? The same Megan who now has this wholesome, churchy image. Apparently, she either ignored what was going on or profited from it. If Wilmer owned the bar and Ashton Kutcher has been his best friend and business partner since that '70s show, do you honestly think Ashton had no idea? The rumors say that bar was one of their main spots for finding victims. Ashton even started a tech company to protect young people from exploitation, but behind closed doors, he was hanging with a crew that preyed on vulnerable girls. Publicly, he talks about helping victims, but privately, he was part of the problem. Looking at this whole group, Diddy called them the new Hollywood Rat Pack. It's clear this was more than just a party scene. Ashton was right in the thick of it, and if the gossip is true, Mila Kunis might be done with him. Rumor has it she's filed for divorce, which makes sense since things changed after Ashton got linked to the Diddy investigation. If that's real, Ashton might be trying to clean up his reputation on his own. No Mila, no marriage, just him, his shady crew, and a lot of unanswered questions. So what do you think? Is Mila really divorcing Ashton? Did Ashton know what was going on at the bar, the parties, the underage drama? And honestly, do you think he's actually being investigated or just hiding behind the usual Hollywood PR shield? There are way too many questions running through our minds. Be sure to let us know in the comments below what you think about the whole situation.